Welcome to the Peak One Sports Fight Night Preview, brought to you by the Bungalow Sports Show. I'm your host, Cole James Rambo. This is my new co-host, Alexis. I don't know what side of the screen you're going to be on when I edit it, but just like I brought Joey in on the Bungalow Sports Show, Alexis hopefully is going to be on these with me. He is my MMA buddy. He's basically the only guy I get to talk, real deep MMA with. Most sports people are just casuals, but when it comes to MMA, they're real casual. They don't know a lot about most anything, and you and I nerd out on this shit. So thank you for joining me, buddy. I appreciate it. So
no problem.
Talk to myself and Alexis credentials is this. He's done an MMA podcast before. He used to have a show on Stallion Radio Network back in the day, and he co-host and friends with a fairly prominent MMA Muay Thai coach, and so we go back. Alexis and I go back. Our knowledge of the sport goes back. So let's break down this week's fight cards. This week we've got a Bellator card on Friday night. We've got a UFC fight night on Saturday. We'll kind of speed through this Bellator card first, just because we'll just go over the main on this one. Because not a lot of huge names on here, but a couple worth noting. First fight on the main card is going to be Thibaut Gouti versus Kane Moussa, and I'm familiar with Thibaut Gouti. I'm not too familiar with Kane Moussa. You ever hear anything about this guy?
Dude, honestly, I would if like Bellator aired at the right time of the day.
Right.
I'm looking it up right now.
Bellator, they're an interesting company, and I guess we should as something of note about Bellator is they're being purchased by the PFL, the Professional Fighters League.
Well, hopefully that'll help them out a little bit, because it's like last time I watched the card, it was like what is it, the Bellator versus Ryzen?
Right.
Sick. I can't wait for that fight. I woke up and it was over.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is they do a lot of cool crossover stuff, and they do bring in a lot of fighters from Asia, and they do have a lot of prominent fighters that used to fight in the UFC and things like that. And the same way that ONE FC and the PFL and things like that are the kind of landing spots, and even bare knuckle these days are kind of landing spots for UFC guys that are either kind of on the downturn or trying to turn their careers around. Bellator used to be that. They're really not that anymore. They sign a couple of prominent guys when they get out of their UFC contracts, but I feel like Bellator's kind of fallen off as far as whether it's advertising. They're not really pushing the fights as much as they used to. You even go to like a lot of the MMA sites that I get my news from, and I was just trying to look up something like this card on these sites, you know what I mean? And like, you can't even really find a whole lot about this card on any of these MMA sites.
If you go to Tapology, it comes up. They have everything on there.
I'm on Bellator.com right now looking at the card, just because like that was like the easiest place to kind of see, and get everybody's readouts. But so this first fight's a lightweight bout. Thibaut Gouti, I mean, I'm not going to throw my money behind anybody because I don't know a whole lot about these guys. I've seen Thibaut Gouti fight a couple times. We'll
see. Here's what I do know. If any of those people are on, or any of the fighters are on John Kavanagh's team, you take the opposite person.
Take the opposite guy. Yeah. That's the thing about John Kavanagh. It's like, obviously he gets a lot of shine because he's Conor McGregor's coach, but it's kind of like it's kind of like Ronda and what's his face, the Armenian guy, Edmund. And it's like when at the beginning you think,
he had Gunnar, but Gunnar's not doing well right now.
Right, but they all went there afterwards too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
fighters flock to these coaches sometimes because they have the next breakout star, but a lot of times it's just because of that star. It's not necessarily because of the coach, and I think that's what we're seeing there with Kavanagh. So we won't spend a whole lot of time on that fight. Thibaut Gouti, Kane Musa, lightweight bout, gonna kick off the main card for Bellator. I guess if I had to pick somebody, I just pick Tebow because he's got a cool French name. So
Yeah.
we'll just go with him. Or
I'm looking at records, see 16 and 6. I don't know any of his past fights.
right.
Oh, he lost his last fight. Let's see. Let's look at Kane Musa. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Kane Musa.
He's on a loss, and then his last one he won by
Right.
decision. So I don't know, man.
We'll see.
Experience. He has 2 more. He has 4 more fights. So I'll go with T-Bell as well.
The other thing about Bellator is like I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the way they promote shit or what, but like I could nerd out on no-namers all day long on ONE FC, on UFC cards, on even PFL cards sometimes. But I just feel like a lot of the lower level guys in Bellator just don't do it. They just don't do it for me. I don't know. I don't know why.
It's like we used to go to the WCK fights and stuff at Pala Casino with Carl, and we'd be there like from like 10 in the morning until like 9 at night, and like that's basically what it feels like. So like at the beginning of the card, it's like really bad, and then towards the end of the night, it gets better. But I'm surprised this is on a main card, so it must be good.
Well, but maybe not, because that's the thing that I think about Bellator nowadays is like because ONE FC and PFL are getting so much shine and they're paying. I don't know what Bellator's pay structure is like or anything like that, but it seems like a lot of fighters are flocking to other organizations when Bellator used to be the second option to the UFC. Now it's almost like the fourth. But anyways, moving on. We got a name in this next fight. We got Douglas Lima versus Castelo Van Steenis. Douglas Lima is former Bellator champion, brother of Diego Lima, was a UFC staple for a while. Muay Thai guys, as much as you can be a specialist these days and still be successful, they're straight up Muay Thai guys, the Lima bros. What do you think about this fight?
I'm going with Lima. I like Lima. His striking is good. I mean, his ground game is all right.
Right.
But I want to see Lima like climb back up.
Well, and the other scary thing about this fight for Lima is that, he's getting up there in age. He's been around a while. He's a seasoned vet. And Castelo Van Steenis, he's got that big van in his name. He's got the Dutch. He that Dutch rub, that Dutch kickboxing. He's the younger fighter coming in. And I think this will kind of be like a moment where we see if Douglas Lima still has it. It's going to be one of those crossroads fights where one's on their way down, one's on their way up.
Yeah,
and we're going to see who the gatekeeper is and see if old Costello, can make a push maybe for a middleweight title fight. But Douglas Lima forever has been an entertaining fighter to watch. I think he's just one of those guys who the game is kind of evolving past his skill set as he's aging, you know what I mean? Because he has it. Once he lost his title, he never really was able to kind of get back and stay in that title mix.
Well, it's like that money thing. Well, everybody, it's like that curse, the $1 million Bellator curse, whatever.
Right.
No one wins after that. They hit the prize and then that's it.
Yeah, it's like
it almost seems like you win the championship in Bellator, like you have to leave Bellator.
Well, and it's like every sport seems. Go check out Peak One Sports on YouTube. They just do last week and this week they're doing shows on sports curses. Last week, Ashton and his co-host did a curse teams episode, and then this week, I think coming out on the 10th, they're doing a Madden curse episode, which is kind of the football curses. Once you get successful enough to get on the cover of Madden, those guys always have the shittiest season the next year. Yeah. I think the only person ever to break that cycle was Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes kind of split the cover a few years ago, and then they both obviously Tom Brady might have won the Super Bowl that season, and then obviously Patrick Mahomes doesn't really have bad seasons yet, at least. But
Yeah.
the Madden curse was a real thing for a long time. But that's like, yeah, that's the Bellator grand prize curse. You win that thing and you're done.
Yeah,
All right, coming up next on that, we got, this is gonna be the co-main event, is Brent Primus versus Mansoor Barnawi, Barnawi, something like that. These names are getting hard for this old, I'm getting too old and these names are getting too hard. I'm like, I used to work for this guy, Steve, and if somebody just had a little bit of an accent on the phone, he'd just be like, I can't understand. I can't understand you talk to him. You know what I mean? And now I feel that way about these MMA names. I'm like,
no, start giving them nicknames. That's what I do. A lot of them are pretty bad, though.
Exactly. What happened to the old Brazilians? They had a name you couldn't say. They just give you a nickname to say. You just go by their nicknames. But Brent Primus, he is a lightweight staple. He was lightweight champion there. You know what I mean? For a minute, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A Bellator lightweight champion.
Let me pull it up.
And he's still sitting 11-3, but Mansoor's got a 20-4 record, and he's got a few inches on him. Another French bad boy. And this is part of the lightweight Grand Prix. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Bellator is kind of weird in the sense, like, a lot of the fights are tailored for the home people to win.
Right.
So maybe what's his name again? Gosh.
Mansoor.
Would probably be a good bet.
Right. Oh, because this card's in France, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, see, look at that. Here at the Bungalow Sports Show Fight Night Preview, a lot of there'll be a lot of homework done on the UFC cards, but some of these Bellator cards I don't really pay attention, and I should have mentioned that this is going down in France, which is why we got some French fighters, European fighters.
Start at like 10 a.m. or something like that.
Right. So this will be an early card on Friday, but I'm gonna go Mansoor on this one, just again because Brent Primus. He's always been at the top of the heap, but I've never been that impressed by him. And and I mean, Mansoor, he just looks like a mean guy, and mean guy at home. You're French. You might win. Yeah. You might win this one.
You might win. Dude, honestly, and then Bellator does this a lot of, like, they push people that are like on the up and coming, like, up too far.
Yeah. They
get destroyed.
They are like very they do that too much too soon thing a lot, but I think again that just has to do with the roster, and as soon as they see somebody who shows some promise, they're like, oh shit, we got to strike while the iron's hot, and then you feed them. Yeah,
bring everybody, let's get the media rolling, and then boom, next fight. Like,
well, and that's the thing, that fight might be one of those, is like,
Austin Vanderford.
Right, exactly, and he's got a fight coming up too, hasn't fought in a while, but Austin Vanderford rose to fame, obviously a good fighter, had a good streak going, married Paige Van Zant, so that then gave him the popularity boost.
Yeah. It's when everybody on the internet started calling him Mr. Van Zant. That's when he started losing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It fucked with his head. It did. But I mean, we'll see what happens. Mansoor may pass this test, but Brent Primus, even though I say I've never been that impressed by him, he is obviously a solid fighter. He was their champion. And this seems like you're trying to push Mansoor up. It's a French card. You're getting him in there in the co-main event, and then watch him just get wrestle fucked by Brent Primus for 3 rounds in your co-main event and kind of halt that guy's career.
You know what? Okay, I'm gonna switch. If Primus is a wrestler, Mansoor is going down.
Yeah.
French aren't really that, like, or especially like Bellator unless you're Musasi.
Right.
But he's not even French, so.
No, Musasi is he's Dutch, man, which brings us to our main event for this Bellator card, Gegard Mousasi versus Fabian Edwards, Leon Edwards' brother. Right?
Dude,
go ahead.
Brothers and sisters in the same, like, field that you work in, like, say, if, like, so, like, Edwards is like the higher of the caliber, right?
Right.
I don't think, even though, like, Fabian could be good, I don't think he would rise to the occasion.
Well, and he's riding 11-2 record, not too shabby at all. But Gegard Mousasi is one of these kind of ageless wonders. Honestly, is that he's like a guy who's been fighting since the Pride days, but he started when he was like 11, so like who knows how exactly old he is. But he just doesn't, he has this style that kind of suits him and suits whatever age, whoever style he's fighting against. You can't really tell if he's up for a fight because he always kind of just has that deadpan, just kind of.
It's like,
exactly.
I beat him. That's it.
But then he goes out there and he mops the floor with a lot of guys. And Fabian Edwards, I'm going to guess, is, he's going to try to keep this thing standing. And Gegard Mousasi, obviously no slouch on the feet, but he's one of those guys that if you give him an opening to drag you to the ground, he's going to choke you out.
Yeah.
He's got the jiu-jitsu, and I don't know where Fabian Edwards jiu-jitsu's at. If it's anything like his brother Leon's, it's probably almost non-existent. He's probably going to have a lot of wrestling defense, takedown defense to try to keep the fight standing. And
Fabian's game plan is kind of hard because like he can't go quick. Like Mousasi can go quick, and then he can also like make it longer.
And Mousasi's kind of one of those guys who wants you to go quick against him because you go out there and you see him and he looks like a fucking turtle ready to take a nap on the other side. So you're like, I'm just going to bum rush this guy. And then he counters the shit out of you. And then before you know it, you're either unconscious or you're on your back.
He's like, cool story, bro.
Right.
Yeah,
that's kind of the story of Mousasi's career. And it's just like, he is so unassuming. And especially now as his career gets on, it's like, I'm sure there's just going to be more and more of that, but he's going to be one of those old guys that just keeps mopping the floor with these up and coming guys, which is, like we just said, perfect for Bellator. He's going to ruin a lot of young guys' career trajectories, He's going
to be fighting, 6-2 people pretty soon. He's just burning through everybody.
And that's the thing is like Mousasi is kind of a double-edged sword, is he's a fantastic fighter and he's a good guy to have on your roster, but he's not necessarily that exciting of a fight stylist. But he just nullifies people, and you give him a guy that you're looking at. Okay, we're going to get him up there. We're going to get Fabian Edwards. We're going to get him. His brother's the champ in the UFC, so he's got some name recognition. We can cut promos and all this stuff. And then you put him up against Gegard Mousasi, and it changes his whole career trajectory because you're going to sink his confidence.
Because he's supposed to be the next guard coming in, and just Mousasi's like, nope, no way.
Nah, I'm still here trying to nap. And
you can't compete with Gegard's experience.
No, not at all. Especially not in the Bellator cage. I don't think you put Gegard back in the UFC or in ONE FC or something. He may not. I think he still can do it. Yeah, I think he still can do it, but I think he's dominant in Bellator. I think
because of the talent pool.
Because they're feeding him guys that shouldn't be fighting him yet. You know what I mean? All right. Enough of that Bellator. We got to say it. I still have a little bit of respect for Bellator, but like I said, they're just not. They just sold the PFL, and there's a reason for that, right? They need a push. They need a changing of the guards.
You read that they were going bankrupt, right?
Right, and that was the whole thing. Like during the Francis Ngannou negotiation, Scott Coker came out and was like, "We're negotiating with him," and it's just like, "No, you're not. You guys are getting sold to the place that's going to sign him." You know what I mean? Like
his last ditch effort,
right?
So,
anyway, so hopefully that Bellator card shows out, but if not, you don't have to watch it anymore.
We'll watch it on PFL,
right? Think they're gonna fold into each other, or
they might as well, dude? PFL has a better model,
right?
But they shouldn't air the amateur fights,
right?
And I think that's really, I don't know, seeing like two fighters 0-0, and I'm like,
right,
expecting to see something good and just like sloppy,
right? And hopefully,
no offense to those guys, they'll kick my ass, right?
Sure, but if you fold the Bellator roster in there, like I said, Bellator's got skilled fighters. It's just like you said, it's the model of the company. I think that kind of just, it doesn't excite anybody.
I think they have a good mix of each, and so like they can build like cards like over the year instead of like having the same 5 fighters fight every time.
Right.
They can expand some of their promotions.
Yeah, and exactly, and they can not. PFL doesn't have to be so like beholden to their tournament. They can have a couple tournament fights on a card and then a couple non-tournament fights and then a main event or something. You know what I mean? And
they don't have to bank on Kayla Harris anymore.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And the big names that would have an opportunity from Bellator, you can make some super fights that are headlining some of these tournament fights of the lower level guys to get you excited, have some of those headliners get you excited to watch the card. All right, moving on to UFC Fight Night, Saturday night. This one's going to be live on ABC. At least the main card is going to be live on ABC. Prelims will actually be live and free on ESPN too. So this whole thing you can watch for free. We're not going to get too crazy into the prelims. There's a few names that I want to just put out there that are on the prelims. We won't really break them down too much because honestly, I'm not going to lie. This whole as an in-depth MMA guy like we are, a lot of the casuals aren't going to know some of these names, but these are some good fights that are on this card.
This card's a banger. Like all the free cards have been bangers, like better than the pay-per-view ones.
Oh, and I think that's a good thing to do if you're going to put it on free TV. Make sure because there's a handful of fights on here that even if you never heard these guys' names, because I know who they are, they're fight of the night candidates. There's 5 fights on here that could be fight of the night, or at least give you good finishes, good battles. We'll just name them off as we go. Jessica Rose Clark, she's an exciting Australian prospect in the women's bantamweight division. She's got a fight on the prelims. Brian Battle, who's an exciting guy from Dana White Contender. Was he Contender Series?
Yeah, Contender Series. Both of these guys are from Contender Series.
Gabe Green, right?
Gabe Green, but Gabe Green's gonna get stomped.
Yeah, that Brian Battle, he's a monster, dude.
Yeah. Jessica Rose Clark, I don't think she's gonna win.
She's one of those people you want to see her win, but then her skill set doesn't really hold up to the hype a lot of times when the fight starts, you know.
She lost to the Russian Ronda Rousey. I mean,
right.
What is it? She's like Julia Starlenko was like, what is it? She was down 4 fights and then armbarred Jessica Rose Clark as her like coming out party.
Exactly. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, she's the first fight on the prelim, so I don't think the UFC has too much confidence in her either. Because you see with the women fights a lot with the UFC is like if they have a little bit of confidence in you, they're gonna push you. If you're good looking,
you look a little bit.
If you got the right look and they got some confidence, you're going on the main card or you're going
just
up
like
top.
Last week's card. I forgot the other name, but I saw Verna Jandarova. Fighting her and like, dude, like she's gonna get mopped,
right? And it happened.
Yeah, like it happened.
All right, let's see. What are some other names we want to talk about on here? Carlos Olberg. I like watching the New Zealand guys fight. That team over there, City Kickboxing, with Izzy and Volkanovski and all those guys.
He's a good one to back.
He's a good one to back. He's an exciting prospect. He's a handsome gentleman. So, I always kind of try to root for the handsome guys because I know if they win, they can have a really successful career, whether monetarily at least. Because if you can nowadays, UFC is half entertainment, half fucking fighting these days. So if you can put together a good record, especially with some knockouts like he does, and you can be hot, he can make some money. Another staple. Oh, no.
I thought he was fighting someone else, but Ihor's good, but like this is Carlos' show.
Yeah, I mean, it's another fight that could go either way. These 2 guys are going to go out there and freaking smack fists at each other. So
it could either last 1 round or go to decision.
Right. Let's see. We got Cody Stamen. He's always a good one to watch with it. And Douglas Silva de Andrade, like another guy, very skilled guy, but kind of just
got miles, man.
And he's trading wins and losses at this point in his career, kind of, and that's just how it goes. Carl Williams, Chase Sherman, that's a cool heavyweight bout.
So Carl Williams is like his second fight in the UFC.
Second in the UFC, I believe.
Yeah, but he fought like a decorated wrestler, like a D1 wrestler in Contender Series, and just starched them, and he's not even supposed to be in that weight class.
Right.
Chase Sherman has experience. That's a close fight.
It is. But Chase Sherman, another one of those guys that I think he's climb, knocked back down. Climb, knocked back down.
Yeah, pretty much.
This might be his knocking back down and Carl Williams kind of coming out party.
Yeah. Well, haven't seen how they look. We'll see for face-offs and all that stuff, but
Right.
yeah, I think there will be a size difference, but the
Yeah.
size difference didn't matter the last two fights.
Right.
So
Carl Williams is
yeah,
he's
Carl
kind of an
is
animal.
a beast, man.
And then the prelim main event, or the main fight on the prelims, a couple old dogs,
Dude,
couple guys who have both
the retirement fight right here. This
retirement
has to be
fight.
retirement. This
But
has to be one.
on top of that, both these guys in their backstories in life, just because obviously we know a lot about these guys, both of them have died of
And
drug
came back.
overdoses and been brought back to life in their past.
So whose second chance is gonna go? I mean, what Court? So Matt Brown's been active, and Court's just back, right?
Right.
So he's kind of like a newer-ish fighter, kind of, even though he's a veteran.
Right.
But dude, Matt Brown, man,
Matt Brown just never stops. He's got those elbows from hell. Court McGee, I mean, his nickname, the Crusher, like he likes to grab onto you, squeeze you hard, take you down, and just kind of turn your face into hamburger. You know what I mean? That's his thing. And I think in this fight specifically, just because you got these two old dogs, Court McGee, this is his first fight in a long time. Matt Brown's been active. I think Matt Brown moves around. He uses movement and doesn't let Court really get his hands on him for that long, and Matt Brown just kind of pieces him up. That's what at least that's my
they both fought last year, so I can't.
Oh, okay, so they're both kind of on the same.
Can't do, and they both lost last year. Like Matt Brown's got fed to the Barberena old man beat up tour,
right,
which is kind of like, what is it? It backfired on Barberena the last two fights, you know.
yeah, but then you get Well, we'll see. And it's always good. I'd rather see these two guys fight each other than have one of them have them both fed to the wolves again for another fight, because at least this way we'll get a good competitive fight. And you'll just see two old dudes beating each other's asses, then a young guy
throw down and be sloppy.
Right. So, and that sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I think if this fight is a sloppy old man fight, but Matt Brown wins, it's going to be an exciting fight to watch. Yeah. If Court McGee wins, it's going to be a boring fight to watch, because I think both of their styles against each other just work against. So if Matt Brown can just keep from getting Court McGee's hands on him and wrestling him down, I think we'll just have a sloppy stand-up fight, and they'll both just swing fists at each other, and Matt Brown will land some elbows, and Court McGee will be all bloody. Yeah. And all right, let's step into the main card, man. First fight on the main card, Tim Means, Alex Morono. Tim Means, again, another one of these big, lanky guys that's always fun to watch from a Muay Thai standpoint, because he's throwing elbows, he's throwing stuff to hurt people. But I don't know. Alex Morono, I think, he's a wrestler. He's going to come in there, and I think he's going to take Tim Means down and kind of grind this fight out.
Yeah, this is a ladder match for Morono. I like Means. I like his style. He's always entertaining, but I think this is literally like the new card, and this is how it's been like progressing with the past 2 years with UFC. Is that
right?
You guys are.
There's always like a transitional. It's a transitional phase that the UFC is in kind of right now. Is that like the guys that are doing the best? Nobody knows a lot about them right now, and a lot of the old guard from the last generation of fighters are kind of on the downturn. You know what I mean? And it's a changing of the guard, if you will. But the next fight, welterweight bout. Daniel Rodriguez versus Ian Machado Gary. This one's an interesting one for me. On the Bungalow Sports Show this week, I picked Daniel Rodriguez as one of my picks of the week. Oh,
you did?
I did. I had not. My MMA hat tells me that Ian Gary is gonna win this fight. But D-Rod being kind of a local guy, and also just his fight style, he's one of those guys who is constantly kind of expected not to pass a test, and then he goes out there and passes it, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So in my brain says Ian Gary, my heart says Daniel Rodriguez. But what do you think?
Okay, so Ian Gary's last fight was Gabe Green, and Daniel Rodriguez's last fight was Li Jingliang, which I thought he lost decisively.
Right. But that was also switching of opponents
when you
last
call
minute, things
when you
like
call
that.
like what is it, strength of schedule,
Right.
it's on Daniel Rodriguez's
Right. But
hands.
and Gary kind of just got here too, you know what I mean?
So you're seeing like two hype trains getting put up together. So who's gonna?
Yeah,
I would want Daniel Rodriguez. He is not a more entertaining fighter, but he is. I don't know, like
he's kind of like that blue collar guy.
Yeah,
you know
the
what
blue
I mean?
collar, yeah, the everyman. The whole thing is Ian Gary
he's
is
well
like,
rounded, and he goes in there without, you know, just I want to win. Ian Gary goes in there with a kind of one of those a new age
like, I'm
fighter
gonna be
with
the next Conor McGregor
and a precise game plan and all that type of stuff. And Daniel Rodriguez is kind of a old school esque kind of just let's throw down and see what happens type of dude.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, I'm taking Daniel on that one.
Okay, all right. On to our co-main event of the evening. Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker. This is a interesting fight in the fact that I don't see either of these guys fighting for a title, even though they're both in the top 10. Anthony Smith had his chance.
No, like, why is this a co-main?
I think
I said, why is this a co-main?
I think
it should be. You should put Gary and Rodriguez as a co-main.
I think skill-wise, that should be where it's at, but I think just name recognition-wise, that's why it's a light heavyweight bout, which, you know, people love that division and they want to see a knock. Johnny Walker's always going in there to knock somebody out, so they're probably hoping they're going to get a spectacular knockout on ABC. I think so. Like Anthony Smith, like once you hit the analyzer desk, the analysis desk for Fox, it's it's kind of what you say, like when you like fighters start saying the word retirement, it's like, okay, it's over. You know, like
dude, like he's good. He's good at that. Let's go move on to your next thing, man. Like, yes, you're a great fighter, but like he's one of those people, like after the John Jones fight, like fell off.
Right. And I think I think the UFC
same you can say with the go ahead.
I was just saying, I think the UFC is kind of doing him dirty here because they're hoping that Johnny Walker blasts him into the moon. All right, so poor Anthony Smith, probably the end of the road for you, boy.
Retirement fight.
Yeah. All right, main event. We got Biggie Boy, however the fuck he says it, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Jailton Almeida. This is another thing of Rozenstruik was supposed to be the next big knockout artist when he came into the UFC, and it just hasn't panned out that way for him. He's had a couple good ones, but it's just been up and down, up and down. And Jailton Almeida, you know, this is his chance to break into the top 10. And, you know, he's kind of one of the most exciting guys. Like when you see him on a heavyweight fight, you don't get a real excited for a lot of heavyweight fights these days just because of the roster situation in the UFC. It's either old guys or John Jones. Yeah. You know, it's guys you've seen fight each other before or John Jones. And like, so I'm excited. Yeah, I haven't been impressed by Rozenstruik since he's been in. I was hoping he'd come in and fuck some people up, but it didn't really work out that way. So I say make room for Almeida. Hopefully he can win this impressive fashion, get into the top 10, and we get some new blood, dude. Because that's the thing. The heavyweight division is all old dogs now, you know, and I'm ready to see a change.
Yeah, there's like Rozenstruik is Jairzinho doesn't strike is what I usually call him.
Jairzinho doesn't strike.
Stands there. He tries to fight like Woodley.
Yeah.
His last fight he came out like guns blazing, but I'm not sure he's going to be a little cautious because Almeida's like dangerous all over.
Well, and that's the thing is I hope
I'm going for Almeida.
I'm going for Almeida because I see Rozenstruik just coming out and trying to finish it early.
Guys up in here. Let's add the sixth person to the heavyweight division.
Right, and I'm hoping Almeida can just finish the job impressively and can move on. Thanks for joining me, buddy. I appreciate it. We'll just get better and better at these. I know it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peak One Sports, for letting me do this. And I hope you guys take our fight suggestions, take our fight information, and go watch some fights this weekend. Comment. Send me your comments. If you think we're idiots and we don't know what the hell we're talking about, comment. I'll answer back. I got nothing better to do. I'll argue with you online.
We're legitimate. We have ties.
Yeah, so. You know what I'm saying? We're old school, dude. We're old dogs. We used to watch it when people get punched in the nuts and shit all the time, you know? So anyway, so yeah, that's been the Fight Night preview for this week. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.